Okay, hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel. So I'm thinking of buying a new car this year, and this car needs to do everything. It's going to be my only car, so it's got to be reliable. I need it to turn on every day. It's got to be able to handle all weather conditions, because I live in Canada. It needs to be relatively cheap, around 30,000 Canadian, and I need it to have at least a big enough backseat to fit some adults in there, just because, well, I carry people from time to time. And as I've been going through this process, I've been realizing there are a whole lot of cars in this price range that could work. So I figured, why not make a video about it, because just might be able to help somebody else. And I'm going to list off all the cars that we're going to go through right now in no particular order. We have the Honda Fit, the Honda Civic SI, the 8th to 11th gen, the Honda Accord, either the 6-speed V6 Coupe or the 2.0 turbo 10-speed, the Elantra N, Mazda 3 Turbo, Golf GTI, and Jetta GLI, the TLX A-Spec, either the 1st or 2nd gen, the Lexus IS 350 or IS 300, and that's 2014 and up whenever they did the facelift, and the new Subaru WRX, the VB, which I think is a 2022 and up. And to start, let's start with the Honda Fit. So I'm a big fan of the Honda Fit. I think Honda set out here to make an Econobox, and they ended up making one of the greatest handling cars of all time. You can actually find videos of these things chasing down Porsches on the track, which I think is just stupid. Like, this is such a rigid chassis that it can take turns so well. It's got I think a 1.6 liter or something 4-cylinder. It makes 100 and something horsepower, not a ton of power. There's not a ton of performance potential here, but it is very cheap. It's got 4 doors. It will be very, very reliable. And I guess one thing to talk about too is the back seats. They can either fold flat and give you a very, very big hatch, or the bottom of the back seat will fold up and you can have some very long and vertical objects in there. And Honda actually calls these their magic back seats. So I think the pros here, if we had to sum it up, are the price. Pretty cheap, like 10,000 Canadian used, handling, surprisingly rigid chassis. We have reliability. It's not going to die on you, at least not anytime soon. And practicality. We have tons of space. It's front wheel drive. It's going to be fine in the winter. Now, if we look at the cons, well, it's an economy car. You're not going to have a ton of luxury features or creature comforts. And on top of that, you're probably going to be buying an older generation. Performance, it's not very fast in a straight line, and the performance potential is pretty low as well. There's not a whole lot you can do to those motors other than maybe swapping out the cams or doing just an entire K-swap on the car. Next up, we have the Civic Si, and here I'm looking at the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th gens, and there's a lot of variation between these generations. Like the 8th and the 9th, you have the high revving, naturally aspirated motor. The 10th and the 11th get the new L15, the 1.5 turbo. Both of them have their various pros and cons, and we'll chat a little bit about them. But main things I think I noticed about these cars is they're fairly cheap. Price range is in $15,000 to $30,000 range, depending on what generation you want. They're pretty reliable. Like, the older ones are definitely going to be more reliable with the naturally aspirated K series. The L15s are pretty good, and when you're buying them, you're probably going to be buying a lower mileage L15 than you would K series, which kind of evens things out. No matter which generation you choose, there's going to be tons of aftermarket support, and they both can make a good amount of power. Now, the 8th and the 9th, if you want big power, you're going to have to boost it, but the good thing about the K-series motors is that they can make 300 to 350 horsepower before you have to open up the block. Usually your trans is going to give out before the block gives out, and on the L15s, while they're turboed from the factory, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. People usually jump from 200 to 240 just with a tune. You can then go full bolt-ons, swap out the turbo for a bigger one. So many different things you can do. And if we look at, I think, the cons is there's a general lack of luxury and modern creature comforts. Now, no generation of the Civic Si is a luxury car. Let me make that clear. However, the 11th gen does have a lot of modern creature comforts that the 8th and 9th don't have. The 10th has a few of them. Things like, I don't know, heated seats, a heated steering wheel. Sorry, heated seats probably exist in all of them, but the heated steering wheel definitely didn't. A Bose stereo sound system is in the 11th. That definitely was not in the previous generations, but that's a trade-off you'll take depending what generation you buy. And unfortunately, the performance potential is also somewhat of a con here. It's not only a pro because it will take money to make a good amount of power. And when I say a good amount of power, some of the cars on this list will be making from the fact their stock power is going to be higher than what the SI will make after you put money into it. But nonetheless, I still think the Honda Civic Si is very, very good at many things. It's an expert at none, but it is good at being a daily. It's good at being a little bit sporty, but we'll talk more about it later too. Next, we arrive at the Accord. So we have the 6.6 Coupe, which is, I believe, from 2008 all the way through 2012. All the way through 2017. It might even be earlier than 2008, but these are the Accord coupes sold with the 6-speed manual and the V6 engine, or the 10th gen Accords with a 2.0 turbo that either came with a 10-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual. Now, the 6.6 Coupe is a little bit strange in this category, mainly because it's a coupe. Like, the back seats are big, don't get me wrong, but it still is a little bit impractical, so it loses points there. And I don't know if it even should be on the list. Let's just talk about the 10th gen, the 2.0 turbo. So reliability, this has been proven already to be a reliable platform. Performance, stock, it's making a good amount of power that can surprise a lot of people, upset a lot of cars. And if you're willing to put some money into it, these things can really, really upset some cars. People have clips of them hanging with 5.0 Mustangs, which I think blows my mind. Practicality, it's huge. It's an Accord. It's a full-size sedan. You're going to get tons of space in there. It is a very, very comfortable daily driver as well because, like I said, it's an Accord, a full-size sedan. Now, some of the downsides, whichever Accord platform you go with, whether it's the 6.6 or the 2.0 turbo, they've both been discontinued. None of them are being produced brand new anymore, which is a bummer. If you're buying the coupe, it's going to be a very old car. It's going to have old car problems. And if you're buying the sedan, it's actually kind of hard to find a clean one. A lot of them have been bought, abused, modified. So take that with a grain of salt. Next, we have the Elantra N. So this might be one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful car stock on this list with, I think, 270 horsepower, 276, if I'm not mistaken. And I think where this car shines is its value. For the price, you're getting a ton of performance and a ton of power, which a lot of these cars on the list can't compete with. And the performance, like I said, is amazing. It's a Hyundai, so it comes with Hyundai problems. Now, I know reliability in Hyundai has improved over the past few years, and I know the N division cars are a lot better than regular Hyundais, but their reputation still precedes them. I've spent a lot of time on the subreddits for the Elantra N, and I just find electrical issue after electrical issue being quoted on the subreddit. I know there's a bias because not everyone who has a great time with the car will post it, but I'm a part of quite a few subreddits, and I do see far more complaints on the Elantra N than on something like the Civic SI subreddit or the Mazda 3s or the Golf GTIs. It's also not easy to find clean, used examples of the Elantra N. Almost all of them have been modified, and I promise you almost every single one was driven hard and abused. And now, comfort and practicality, a lot of reviewers have said that the Elantra N suspension is actually a little bit too stiff for a daily driver, and they'd want something a little bit more toned down, which is not usually a complaint you hear in this category. It's usually the other way around. People wish their dailies were a little bit more aggressive. But I digress. Moving on, we now arrive at the Mazda 3 Turbo, and I'm partial to the styling of the hatchback, so that's what we'll talk about here. If we talk about looks, it looks amazing. The hatchback is probably, I think, the best looking car on this list, like from the factory. And this also shines in terms of value, but not in the way the Elantra N does. Here, you're spending not so much money to get a ton of luxury. I think from the factory, if you're buying a turbo and you buy decently high trim, you're getting a 360-degree camera, heated seats, Bose sound system, a whole bunch of just luxury features I wouldn't expect to get at this price point, because these things are going for some as low as 25,000 used if you're going for a 2021 or a 2022. And when you're looking for used ones, there are plenty clean examples of this, which I think surprises me. I really didn't see that coming, but there's a lot of them that I guess were adult owned, for lack of a better word, or elderly owned, that have no modifications done, were dealer serviced. Now, if we go to what's not so great about it, in the hatchback and I guess the sedan, the back seat is pretty tight, which is a hit against practicality. It can be hard to actually fit a full-size adult back there. And if you're buying the turbo, the only transmission option is the 6-speed automatic, which is fine. Like, it's a torque converter automatic, so it's not going to be able to keep up with like a ZF or, a double clutch, or I can't remember the name of the one that comes in the Volkswagen. It might be a DSG. It can't keep up with those. It's going to shift slower than them. Is it slow? No. Will it be slower than a lot of the other automatic options on this list? Yes. And performance, it's probably the least performance-focused car on this list. It's focused on being luxurious and comfortable, not so much at being a sports car. And is that a problem? I don't know, because when I'm in my car, 95% of the time, I am just commuting from point A to point B. I'm not going to be on an exciting road. I'm probably going to be stuck in traffic. Now, would it be nice to have some extra sportiness for the 5% of the time I am on a road that's fun? Yes. Would I appreciate having the extra luxury the other 95% of the time? Probably. Next, we have the Volkswagen GTI, probably the last true hot hatch left. And it is also, like the Elantra N, amongst the fastest cars on this list. It looks good. It's got a ton of aftermarket support. With a downpipe and tune, people make so much power out of these motors. The MQB or MKB, whatever the platform is super modular. It's really easy to work on yourself. And people, I think, can push upwards of 300 horsepower relatively easily out of the EA 888 motors. And it has some pretty good creature comforts. It is a German, so you're going to get some nice, I guess, amenities on the inside. Now, what's not so hot about it is it's pretty pricey. It's pricier than most of the other cars here, and for good reason too. I think you're getting a good package, and it's really difficult to find clean used examples. Like I said, a lot of these cars here have been bought, abused, modified, or bought by a teenager who wanted a first car, maybe bought by an enthusiast who wanted a first car, but it was driven hard. It wasn't babied, which makes it a little bit difficult just to buy for and shop for. And the maintenance costs on these are a little bit higher than the Japanese cars just because they're not Japanese cars. You do have to take care of them. You can't, ignore your maintenance items like you could on some other cars. Next, we have the Acura TLX A-Spec, either the first or second gen. And if we're going first gen, we'd be talking specifically the V6 with the 9-speed automatic. If we're going second gen, we're talking a 2.0 turbo from the Accord with a 10-speed automatic also from the Accord. Both of these are all-wheel drive, which is amazing for bad weather. Where these really shine, I think, comes in at their luxury features. And what I mean by that is their interiors are amazing features as well. Both of them, I think, will come with 360 cameras. The second gen has a 16-speaker sound system. I've made an entire video about that car, and I think it deserves its flowers. The first gen, its interior looks a little bit dated, but it's still a very, very nice place to be. I think they're easily some of the best looking cars on the road, with the second gen looking a lot better than the first. Not to say the first is bad. And they're pretty easy to find clean used examples because these were never really marketed as sports cars. So they were usually bought by people who weren't going to drive them like sports cars and just had them serviced at the dealer. And they're pretty reliable. Like it's a Honda, it'll be fine. Now, what's not so great, the costs, they're a little bit pricey. That's because they're luxury cars. Performance potential is pretty high on the 2.0 turbo, not so much on the first gen. In fact, the first gen also had some reported transmission issues with that 9-speed automatic, and there's just limited aftermarket support for that V6. And overall performance takes a hit because they're very heavy. They're just slow due to their weight. Like the second gen TLX has the same 2.0 turbo and 10 speed as the 10th gen Accord, but the 10th gen Accord is much faster just because it's much lighter. Next, we have a classic Lexus IS 300 and the Lexus IS 350 2014 plus, or whenever the current facelift came up. And these cars used to be underrated. I don't think they're underrated ever anymore because there's literally thousands of videos telling people that these are great cars and great daily drivers. I don't disagree, they are great. They're just definitely not underrated. Now, obviously, design, Lexus does amazing when it comes to designs. Outside, this car looks amazing. It's a perfect balance between aggressive and not in your face. Inside, Lexus has timeless interiors. I think I've also made a video or a TikTok about that in the past. Now, what's not so great? It's going to be expensive, even used. They're going to be expensive because everybody knows what they are. Everybody wants one. They're not fuel efficient. I'm sure everyone's seen the meme of Toyota producing a V6 that gets 4-cylinder power but 8-cylinder gas mileage. And performance, it's going to be one of the slower cars on the list in a straight line, and there's also not a ton of aftermarket performance support. And one very good thing I forgot to mention, probably the most important, is these things are extremely reliable. People squeeze 300,000 kilometers out of them regularly with just basic maintenance. This is what I meant when I said the GTI is not as reliable as other cars on the list. Next, and I think the last car here, is we have the Subaru WRX, meaning the VB one, which I think is a 2022 and up. Now, this is also amongst the most powerful cars on the list, I think also with 270 horsepower. Probably has the best all-wheel drive system on this list. I think Acura might come close, and that's it. And the performance potential here is huge. These new 2.4 liter turbos can make big power, just a few mods. I haven't seen too much about them. Like, I don't know too much about them, but I've seen quite a few people on subreddits quoting their power numbers well over 300 with very, very little money invested. Now, what's not so great about it? Price. This is one of the pricier cars on the list, and I'm not mad about that. It's just a fact. Like, you are getting 270 horsepower and one of the best all-wheel drive systems with probably a good manual transmission in here and a half-decent interior. It's going to cost more than most of the cars on this list for that exact reason. It's delivering more than most cars on this list. I almost left it off just because of the budgeting, but you can find like the 2022 and 2023 base models for about 30 grand now. And the design, it doesn't really look that great stock. I will admit though that when it first came out I hated it, and now it's grown on me a lot. And after people put about 5 grand into cosmetics, it does look damn good, which you could probably do that with any car. I don't think it's special about the Subaru. But now that we've arrived at the end of the list, you're probably wondering if I'm going to rank all of these. No, I'm not going to rank all of them. I will tell you what I think are the front runners. As I look at this list and I look back at the requirements, meaning you got to be around 30,000 Canadian, cheaper is better. You have to have, 4 doors, you got to be practical, I got to be able to drive you every day, and in there rolls up creature comforts as well. Like, I want to be driving something every day that's comfortable, that's nice. And the 2 cars that I think consistently check all of those boxes are the 11th gen Civic SI and the Mazda 3 Turbo. Both of these cars look good inside and out, and I feel like they're 2 sides of the same coin. They're in the same price range-ish, and if we look at where our money's going on the SI, when you buy the SI, your money's going into that limited slip differential, that amazing manual transmission, that independent rear suspension, all the things that make the driving dynamics of that car amazing. Now, if we look at the Mazda 3 Turbo, your money is going into the luxury. Your money's going into that super smooth 6-speed automatic, a very smooth motor that delivers a lot of mid-range power, nothing on the high end. It's going into memory seats. It's going into a 360 camera. So on the SI, your money goes towards performance and handling. On the Mazda 3, your money goes towards luxury and comfort, and it's a matter of what do you want. Now, what do I want? I don't know. That's why I made this whole video. I'm projecting my decision onto you. Now, what do I think I'm leaning towards? It changes every 4 hours. If I see a very good TikTok about a Mazda 3, I'm leaning towards the Mazda 3. If I see one about the Civic, well, I'm going towards the Civic. I think for me, it's going to come down to whatever is available on the market when I have the down payment saved up. And when I do buy one, you guys will be the first to know. And I want to just make an honorable mention to the GTI. It's still on my radar. It's just the maintenance cost on it is going to be higher than a Mazda 3 or a Civic just by the nature of the car. When it hits 100,000 kilometers, there's going to be a lot of maintenance to be done that simply is not the case with the Civic Si or the Mazda 3, at least not in my opinion and from everything I know. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it. And I think with that, we're going to stop right here. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of this video. If you liked what you saw, I'm going to have some more videos right here on the screen for you. Also, if you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate that. And check out my blog, www.sharksauto.com. Everything on there is free. You can see all of my articles, and every one of my YouTube videos is based on an article, and the articles go up first. So if you want early access, check out the blog, and I will see you guys next time.